1. The appendix. For generations, the appendix was the punchline of human anatomy, the spare part you didn't need. Tucked off the large intestine, it looks like a tiny worm-shaped pouch doing absolutely nothing. Surgeons have been removing it for over a century without patients missing a beat. But the appendix isn't totally useless. Modern research suggests it acts as a backup storage for good gut bacteria, a kind of safe house that repopulates your microbiome after illness. Still, when it gets infected, called appendicitis, it can turn deadly fast if not removed. Tens of millions of people live perfectly normal lives without one. No dietary restrictions, no long-term problems, just a small scar and a good story about an emergency hospital visit. The appendix might have been history's most expendable organ, but it's not the only one. Next up, the spleen, another organ you can lose, even if it plays a far bigger role than most people realize. 2. The spleen. The spleen sits quietly under your rib cage, filtering blood and fighting infections. It's basically your body's immune system sidekick, storing white blood cells, recycling old red ones, and cleaning out bacteria. Sounds important, right? And yet, thousands of people live without it. Trauma is the big reason. A bad car crash or sports injury can rupture the spleen, and when that happens, doctors often remove it entirely. It's not optional. A burst spleen can cause fatal internal bleeding in minutes. So, how do you live without one? Other organs, especially the liver and lymph nodes, pick up the slack. Life without a spleen does mean a higher risk of infections, which is why patients often get vaccines and antibiotics as backup protection. You can lose your spleen and keep on living a full life, but if you really want to see the body's backup system at work, look no further than the kidneys, because you've got two, and one is plenty. 3. One kidney. Your kidneys are like the body's natural filtration plant. Two bean-shaped organs constantly cleaning waste from your blood, balancing electrolytes, and keeping blood pressure in check. Lose both, and you're in serious trouble. But lose just one? You'll barely notice. People donate kidneys all the time, and the remaining one simply doubles its workload. It grows slightly larger and adapts, filtering nearly as much as two kidneys combined. Most patients live perfectly normal lives with just one, no special diet required beyond staying hydrated and avoiding extreme abuse like heavy painkiller use. Some athletes, soldiers, and everyday workers go their whole lives with a single kidney, never realizing how much that lone organ is pulling off. It's proof that sometimes half is more than enough. But while one kidney can carry the load, breathing is another story. So, what happens when you're forced to live with just one lung? 4. One lung. The lungs are your body's air exchangers, pulling in oxygen and pushing out carbon dioxide with every breath. Together, they process about 5 liters of air per minute at rest, and far more during exercise. But surprisingly, you don't need both to survive. When one lung is removed, usually because of cancer or severe damage, the remaining lung expands and compensates. Patients often notice shortness of breath at first, but over time, the body adapts. Many can walk, climb stairs, and even jog with just half their normal lung power. Of course, there are limits. Elite athletic performance is off the table, and recovery from illness takes longer. But daily life? Entirely possible. There are even stories of teachers, lawyers, and parents living decades after a full lung removal. Losing one lung is a setback, not a death sentence. But not every organ handles backup duty so gracefully. Take the gallbladder. When it goes, the body has to change the way it digests fat. 5. The gallbladder. The gallbladder is a small pouch tucked under your liver, and its only job is storing bile, a greenish digestive juice that helps break down fat. During a meal, it squeezes out bile like a squirt bottle, giving your intestines the boost they need to handle burgers, fries, and ice cream. But here's the twist. You don't actually need it. If the gallbladder gets clogged with painful gallstones, doctors often just remove it. Your liver still makes bile, it just drips steadily into the intestines instead of being stored. The system works fine, a little less efficient, but totally survivable. Most people adjust in a few weeks. Some notice stomach upset after very fatty meals, but otherwise, life goes on with barely a difference. Millions live without their gallbladder and never look back. It's proof that the body has workarounds. But what happens when doctors start removing not just storage tanks, but pieces of the digestive highway itself, like the colon? 6. The colon. The colon, or large intestine, is the final stretch of your digestive system. Its main job is absorbing water and electrolytes from what's left of your food, then compacting waste into stool. Sounds essential, but you can actually live without part of it, and sometimes even all of it. When disease strikes, colon cancer, Crohn's disease, or severe injury, surgeons can remove sections in a procedure called a resection. In extreme cases, the entire colon is taken out. Patients then use an ileostomy bag, which collects waste outside the body. It's not glamorous, but it works. People adapt, go back to work, travel, even play sports. Life is messier, yes, but survivable. The colon shows us that the body doesn't need every step in its digestive assembly line to function, and if losing part of the colon sounds tough, imagine living without the stomach, the very organ that starts digestion in the first place. 7. The stomach. The stomach is the body's blender, churning food, mixing it with acid, and breaking it into smaller bits for the intestines to absorb. You'd think it's indispensable, but shockingly, people can live without it. When stomach cancer or severe ulcers strike, surgeons perform a gastrectomy, removing part, or even the whole stomach. The esophagus is then directly connected to the small intestine. It's not seamless, but it works. Life after stomach removal means smaller, more frequent meals. Without the stomach's acid, food passes quicker, and patients must watch for dumping syndrome, sudden nausea, sweating, and dizziness after eating too much sugar. Still, many adapt, return to work, and live decades without this so-called essential organ. It proves digestion is flexible, the body reroutes and carries on. But the stomach isn't the only hollow organ you can lose. Next up, the bladder, and the surprising ways doctors replace it. 8. The bladder. The bladder seems pretty essential. It's the storage tank that holds urine until you're ready to let it go. Without it, wouldn't you be stuck in constant bathroom chaos? Surprisingly, no. People can live without a bladder, but it takes some creative surgery. When bladder cancer or trauma forces removal, doctors build alternatives. One option is a urostomy, where urine drains continuously into a small bag worn outside the body. Another is creating a neobladder from a piece of intestine, giving patients a new internal reservoir that works almost like the real thing. Life without a bladder means adjustments, scheduled bathroom trips, more medical monitoring. But people return to work, raise families, even run marathons. It's proof that plumbing can be redesigned and the system still flows. The bladder may be replaceable, but some organs tie more closely to identity. 9. The liver. The liver is a powerhouse, detoxifying blood, producing bile, storing energy, and managing over 500 functions at once. Lose all of it, and survival is impossible. But here's the incredible part. You don't need the whole liver to keep going. Surgeons can remove more than half of it, sometimes up to 70%, and the remaining portion will regrow. It's the only internal organ with this superpower. That's why living donor liver transplants are possible. One person gives part of their liver, and within months, both donor and recipient have a full-sized working organ again. Life with a partial liver does mean caution, less alcohol, fewer toxins, and close medical monitoring. But patients often recover fully, carrying on with no major limitations. The liver shows that sometimes survival isn't about replacement, it's about regeneration. But what if even the command center itself, the brain, can lose large portions and still keep someone alive? 10. The brain. The brain is the command center of everything: thought, movement, memory, personality. It feels impossible to live without parts of it, and yet people do. One of the most extreme examples is the hemispherectomy, the removal of an entire half of the brain, usually to treat severe epilepsy. Children who undergo it often recover remarkably well, with the remaining hemisphere taking over most functions. Many can walk, talk, and even go to school like any other kid. Adults, too, have survived massive brain surgeries, sometimes losing whole lobes to cancer or trauma. Memory gaps, personality shifts, and motor challenges often follow, but life continues. The brain's plasticity, its ability to rewire itself, makes survival possible even when half the hardware is gone. It's the ultimate proof that the human body is adaptable beyond belief. From extra parts, like the appendix, to half a brain, we're wired not just to survive, but to keep going against all odds. See you in the next video. You've heard it 1,000 times. Stop cracking your knuckles, you'll get arthritis. Parents, teachers, random strangers, everyone seems convinced. But science? Not so much.